Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances of Glorious Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to our morning class. This morning we will be discussing from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 3, verses 99 through 102. And the class will be given by His Grace Vishnugada Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Vanchakapuriyascha, Kripasundadevacha, Patitanam Panipneva, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. And it's all yours, Prabhu.
Thank you so much.
And I'll pull up the Parama Karuna prayers too. I just remembered it's the Adi Lila.
Oh, it's Adi Lila? Oh,
Yeah.
instead of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Oops. Did you get the revised schedule, Prabhu?
Yeah, I know. No, I got it.
Yeah, it's Adi Lila, yes.
Yeah, but I mean Adi Lila versus Madhya Lila, or so I was thinking, if it's Madhya Lila, we chant the same thing or not? Yeah, but you're saying Adi Lila versus Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I know you chant this prayer. That's why I wanted to have it up ready for you.
The reason I chant this prayer?
Prabhupada chanted it. That's the only.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Because Srila Prabhupada chanted this prayer before.
Yes.
And anyway, when we get a little older, but I try to be a little more careful about following what Srila Prabhupada did or said, or how his example. That's
absolutely all. And we appreciate it because it's also a lesson for us to also not divert from what Srila Prabhupada said. So thank you for reminding us. Absolutely. And it's all yours, Prabhu.
Parama Karuna Pahu Dvijan Nitai Gaurachandra
Parama Karuna Pahu Dvijana Nitai Gaurachandra
Shab Avatar Shar Shiramani Kebala Ananda Kanda
Sabhavatar Sarashiromani Kevala Ananda Kanda.
And it's okay if the devotees we'd like to hear devotees also, other devotees to chant. Anyway, especially Parikshit Prabhu, if he wants to.
I
Yes.
certainly will. Hare Krishna. I was thinking about it anyway. Hare Krishna.
Bhaja bhaja bhai chaitanya nitai sudhidha vishasha kari.
Bhajo Bhajo Bhai Chaitanya Nitai Sudrita Viswasa Kori.
Vishaya chadiya se rase majiya mukhe bolo hari hari.
Vishaya Chadiya Sera Majiya Mukhe Bolo Hari Hari.
Dekha ore bhai tribhuvane nai emona doyalo data.
Dekho Ore Bhai Tribhuvane Doya Tata.
Pashupaki jhure pashana vidare shuni jar gunagata.
Ashu Pakhi Jure Ashana Vidare Shuni Chandra Gunagata.
Sangsare majia rohili podia shepode nohilo asha.
Samsara
Magia, Ruhili
Rohini
Puria,
Purya Separe
Separe
Nahi Loha.
Apana koromo bhunjaye shamana kahaye lo chandasa.
Apana
Aparataya,
Bunjai
Unjaya,
Shamana Kaho Ye Lochana
Lochana,
Dasa.
Parama karuna pahu dvijan nitai Gaurachandra.
Parama Karuna Bahu Dvijana Nitai
Itai
Gaura
Gaura Chandra,
Chandra.
Parama karuna pahu dvijan nitai Gaurachandra.
Parama
Paramakaruna,
Karuna Bahu Dvijana
Jana, Nitai
Nitai Gaura
Gaura Chandra,
Chandra.
Shab avatar shar shiramani Kemalananda kanda.
Sabhavata
Sabhavata, Sam
Saran
Shiromani,
Shiromani Kevala
Kevala
Ananda
Ananda,
Kanta.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhams Paribrajak Acharya Ashtotara Shata Shishyaman His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai,
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai.
Jai,
ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai,
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai,
Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai,
Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai.
Jai,
Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai.
Jai,
Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai.
Jai,
Ganga Mai Ki Jai.
Jai,
Jamuna Mai Ki Jai.
Jai,
Tulsi Devi Ki Jai.
Jai,
Bhakti Devi Ki Jai.
Jai,
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Reading, studying, discussing Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, beginning from Adi Lila, chapter 3, text number 99. Apani Shri Krishna Jadi Korena Avatar, Apani Achari Bhakti Korena Prachar. Apani Shri Krishna Jadi Korena Avatar. Apane Achari Bhakti Korena Prachar. Apani Shri Krishna Jadi Korena Avatar. Apane Achari Bhakti Korena Prachar. Krishna.
Apani Shri Krishna Yadi Karana Avatar. Apane Achari Bhakti Karana Prachar. Hare Krishna.
Apne Sri Krishna Yadi Karena Avatar. Apne Achari Bhakti Karene Prachar. Karena Prachar, sorry. Hare Krishna.
आपने श्री कृष्ण यदि करे न अवतार आपने आचार्य भक्ति करे न प्रचार.
Thank you. Just a pronunciation note. In Bengali, this is Bengali. Some of the verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita, of course, is Sanskrit, but this is Bengali. And in Bengali, the Y's are all J's.
I was
Do you know
about
that?
to ask you, Prabhu, because I noticed you did that. I said, was it my hearing problem or what?
All
Okay.
Y's are J's, just like when we say the Shri Guru Charana Padma, actually. Jahar Prashade Bhai, E Bhava Toriya Jai, Jahar, J, Jahar. Or see, you hear Srila Prabhupada say, Acharya. You ever hear him say Acharya? Acharyavan. The Y there, Acharya. And, Jamuna, Bengali. That's just the Bengali. No big deal, but it's a little detail. Jahar. Apani Shri Krishna Jadi. So there was a devotee, one of the first lady devotee who joined was named, what was her name? The ISKCON movement in New York?
Mother Yamuna? It
No,
was
she was not first.
Jadurani.
Yeah, Jadu
Mother
Rani.
Jadurani.
What does that mean, Jadu Rani?
I have no idea, Prabhu. I have to admit.
Well, it's the Yadu, the Rani of the Yadus. Who's the Rani of the, yeah.
Oh, the J
The
and the
Rani of the,
Y.
yeah. You understand, yeah. So that's why. Okay. Apani himself, Shri Krishna, Lord Krishna, Jadi, if Korean, he makes avatar, incarnation, Apane himself, Achari, practicing, Bhakti, devotional service, Korena does prachar, propagation, translation. Advaita Acharya thought if Shri Krishna were to appear as an incarnation, he himself could preach devotion by his personal example. Next. Naam binu kali kale dharma nahi ar, kali kale koiche hobe Krishna avatar. In this age of Kali, there's no religion other than the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. But how in this age will the Lord appear as an incarnation? Shuddha bhave koriba Krishner aradhan nirantra sadaine koribe nivedan. I shall worship Krishna in a purified state of mind. I shall constantly petition him in humbleness. Aniya Krishnere Koron Kirtan Sanchar Tobe She Advaita Nam Shapal Amar. My name, Advaita, will be fitting if I am able to induce Krishna to inaugurate the movement of the chanting of the holy name. My name, Advaita, will be fitting if I am able to induce Krishna to inaugurate the movement of the chanting of the holy name. Purport. The non-dualist Mayavadi philosopher who falsely believes that he is non-different from the Lord is unable to call him, like Advaita Prabhu. Advaita Prabhu is non-different from the Lord, yet in his relationship with the Lord, he does not merge with him, but he internally renders service unto him as a plenary portion. This is inconceivable for Mayavadis because they think in terms of mundane sense perception and therefore think that non-dualism necessitates losing one's separate identity. It is clear from this verse, however, that Advaita Prabhu, although retaining his separate identity, is non-different from the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached the philosophy of inconceivable, simultaneous oneness with the Lord and difference from him. Conceivable dualism and monism are conceptions of the imperfect senses, which are unable to reach the transcendence because the transcendence is beyond the conception of limited potency. The actions of Sri Advaita Prabhu, however, give tangible proof of inconceivable non-dualism. One who therefore surrenders unto Sri Advaita Prabhu can easily follow the philosophy of inconceivable, simultaneous dualism and monism. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtang Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Katahmakyam Dadati Shapandantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Bashadi Gaur Bhaktabinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The point being discussed or cited here in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Oh, first I should ask permission and blessings from all the devotees, and particularly those who are senior by age or advancement in Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So the point being in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, if the Lord Shri Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and Advaita Prabhu are non-different, then how is it that Advaita Prabhu can call the Lord? Because in a conceivable dualism, as Srila Prabhupada talks later, or monism, if there's monism, it's all one. So how there's no difference between Advaita Prabhu and Krishna. So how can he call Krishna? You follow? So it has to be both different and non-different. This is in the inconceivable potency of Lord Krishna. This is cited many times in the Vedic literature, although it's not understood by those who are following the impersonalist path. For example, Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, in the 8th chapter, when he talks about he instructs Arjuna, always remember me. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. Always remember me. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. And at the same time, fight, carry out your duty of fighting. And one who remembers him, Lord Krishna, at the time of death, he goes to his nature, his planet. And then he says, in the verse number 8, I believe, he says, how do you remember him? How should you remember him? How do you remember Krishna? Okay. Kavim Puranam Anushashitaram Anoraniyam Sam Anusmaredya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Adityavarnam Tamasat Parashtat. He said, Kavim, he is one who knows everything. Puranam, the oldest. Anushashitaram, the controller who gives orders, yes, and they follow. Anoraniyam, smaller than the smallest. Anusmaredya, go on thinking that way. Sarvasya dhataram, always maintaining everything. Achintya rupam, and his form, his identity is inconceivable. Inconceivable. So how will we understand it's something inconceivable? How is it possible? That's what Srila Prabhupada says later in the purport, because transcendence is beyond the conception of limited potency. That means us. We're the limited potency. How can we understand Krishna? We're limited potency. He is unlimited. And he's inconceivable by our limited senses. How can we possibly understand him? That's the question to you all.
By the mercy of the spiritual master, Prabhu?
Yes, by his mercy, by Krishna's mercy, which means the mercy of the spiritual master. There's no other way. When Gopinath Acharya was debating with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya about the divinity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he quoted a number of shlokas. And then he quoted a very nice shloka, which says, Prashado Leshan Anugrihita Eva Hi. He said, without getting a drop of mercy from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's no possibility of understanding him. Achintya Rupam, his identity, his form is inconceivable. Then, in Brahma Samhita also, Advaitam, first word in that shloka, Advaitam is one, non-dual. Achyutam, doesn't fall down. Anadi, beginningless. Anantarupam, he has unlimited forms, and his form is unlimited, both. Anantarupam, Adyam, he is the beginning. Purana Purusham, the oldest. Navayovanamcha, but at the same time, even though he's the oldest, he's ever fresh. Vedeshu Dullabam, by studying the Vedas, he's very difficult to understand. Adulabam, Atma Bhakto, but by practice of devotional service, he's easily understood. He can be understood in that way. So Advaita Prabhu is part of the Pancha Tattva. And even though he's not different from Lord Chaitanya, he is requesting Krishna to please come himself into this world, to this planet, to rectify the situation and liberate the suffering living entities by spreading the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. This is very interesting. So God is asking God, please come. A similar thing happened. We just crossed over Janmashtami last week. And so Bhumi approached Brahma, and she described the difficult situation on the earth. There were so many leaders, politicians who were deviant demons, misleading people. They had so many unnecessary weapons that we're using to annihilate the population, innocent people. So Brahma understood it was a very serious condition. Even though he usually takes care of things, it was too much for him, right? That's why, yeah. So he went to the shore of the Milk Ocean, and they prayed. Who did they pray to there at the shore of the Milk Ocean? You remember?
Kshirodakshaya Vishnu.
Yeah, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And then a message, they prayed by the use of the Purusha Sukta prayer. And then a message was transmitted in or a sound was transmitted that don't worry, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself is coming. So you demigods, you should take birth on the earth to help him in his mission, and your wives also, not just you, especially in the Jadru dynasty. So they were praying to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, but who came? Krishna came, right? Lord Sri Krishna, the Swayam Bhagavan. So Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is none different than Krishna, but at the same time, he is different because Krishna himself came. You follow? It's a similar thing, Kshirodakshaya. So Advaita Prabhu is sometimes identified either as Mahavishnu or Sadashiva, both. But so there's a difference between Krishna and Goloka. So he is requesting. So in this case, with Lord Krishna during the Krishna Lila pastimes, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu must have relayed the information to Lord Krishna. Of course, Lord Krishna is always conscious of everything. But still, there must have been a request. Kshirodakshaya Vishnu to Krishna, till Krishna says, so Lord Krishna says, please take birth. Hold on, I'm coming. That's right. So this is a really very interesting point. So Advaita Prabhu, even though he is understood to be the expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just like all other beings, whether they're expansions, primary, secondary, or separated expansions, Bibinangsha, all beings have the relationship with Krishna and Goloka as servants. Ekal Ishar Krishna Arshabritta. There's one supreme controller, and all others, even Advaita Prabhu, are servants. And that was shown during the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Advaita Prabhu continually wanted to take the position of servant of Lord Chaitanya, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sometimes uncomfortable with that. Still, Advaita Prabhu, when there was the Ratha Yatra celebration in Jagannath Puri, along with chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra during the parade, you know what Advaita Prabhu would chant in the parade? He would chant a little prayer or a big prayer. Chaitanya Das Muni Chaitanya Das, Chaitanya Das Muni Tanra Dashira Das. Oh, he would chant, I'm the servant of Lord Chaitanya, the servant of Lord Chaitanya, the servant of Lord Chaitanya, and the servant of his servants. So even big demigods, we chant the prayer Jagannath Ashtakam. Kadachit Kalindi. You know that one? Kadachit Kalindi. Pipina Sangita Karavo Mudabiri Nari Vadan Kamalasvada Madhupa. Then it says, third line. Rama Shambhu Brahma Marapati Ganeshar Chitapado. Rama, Lakshmi, Shambhu, Lord Shiva, Ganesh, Rama Shambhu, Brahma, Lord Brahma, Ganesh, Lord Ganesh, Architapado. All of them are surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath, Krishna. So the same idea is here. Advaita Prabhu, as in service to Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, is requesting, asking his presence to come to the earth in to spread the chanting of the holy name, the Sankirtan movement. So I was thinking about this a little bit, and Srila Prabhupada doesn't comment, but as the Kali Yuga progresses, there are many negative signs of the progression of Kali Yuga, and with the philosophy and practices of Krishna consciousness more practiced in India, one might think, and this is of course speculation, that the progress of Kali Yuga was mildly checked to some degree in India. Do you follow? Does that make sense at all? Kali Yuga is progressing all over the earth, but it may not have progressed as quickly in India, simply because there was the acharyas, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, etc. Even though
But is that true, Prabhu? Like, is that the fact?
I'm just speculating.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Speculating. I won't find it's true. You won't find it in any book. I was thinking about that. Certainly, Kali Yuga was progressing in other places. If you go to England at the same time, or France, or South America, or in North America, yeah, sure. But perhaps it was not quite as pronounced in India, but still it was becoming very serious in India. This is 500 years ago in Bengal. And in Bengal at the time, interesting point is that there were some European travelers during this era that traveled to different kingdoms around in the East, like Chinese kingdom and Indian kingdom and Middle Eastern kingdom and African kingdoms. And many of them said there was no more opulent and peaceful place on the earth than Bengal. You know that? During the time of Lord Chaitanya. So it's very interesting. Anyway, so, but still, Advaita Prabhu, seeing the progress of Kali Yuga, even in India, he requested ardently by offering Ganges water and Tulsi leaf. He could have offered, very elaborate offerings, sandesh, sweet rice, but he simply offered a little leaf and a little water, Ganges water particularly, because he knew those things were very pleasing to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and requesting Lord Krishna to please come to help rectify the situation, which had gotten pretty messy even in India at the time. So Advaita Prabhu, he had two houses. You probably know this. His residence in Navadvip was very close to the residence of Jagannath Mishra, just a few houses down. And how do we know that? Well, because it's described in the Shastras, and also when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a very young boy, his older brother used to go to Advaita Prabhu's house and hear the discussion on philosophy, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. Do you remember that? His elder brother's name Vishvarup. So he would go to the Advaita Prabhu's house and hear these discussions of Srimad Bhagavatam, philosophical discussions about the importance of devotional service. And so later, when Vishvarup left home precipitously and took sannyas, Mother Sachi made a comment that she blamed Advaita Prabhu. You know this. She blamed Advaita Prabhu for that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't like that. So when he was showing his Mahaprakash Lila, he was giving away Krishna Prema to anyone who would come, freely to anyone. So the devotees, they said, well, let's bring Mother Sachi. And Advaita Prabhu said, Lord Chaitanya said, no, I cannot give. I cannot give love of God to my mother because she's an offender at the feet of a Vaishnava. That's pretty amazing, right? So anyway, later they understood, and she took the dust of Advaita Prabhu's feet when he was semi-conscious in ecstasy down, and that way she freed herself from the offense. But in that teaching was how important even the mother of God can't get advancement in devotional service to the level of Krishna Prema if she is being offended a devotee. Very interesting point. So Advaita Prabhu's one house was there in Navadvip, very close to Jagannath Mishra's house, and another house was in Shantipur. So this occurrence here when he's praying is in Shantipur. And later, when Lord Chaitanya actually appeared on Gaur Purnima, he was also in Shantipur, and he and Haridas Thakur started dancing and giving in charity very, very generously at that time, dancing and chanting. And people were thinking this was just a ritual done because it was a eclipse of the moon. So when there's an eclipse of the moon, it was customary to give in charity generously. But actually, they were so happy, they were feeling very happy and generous because they were aware of the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead on that night, Gaur Purnima. So later, Sita Thakurani, the mother of, the wife of Advaita Acharya, went to present gifts to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was a baby at the house of Jagannath Mishra. And it's not said why Advaita Prabhu, why didn't Advaita Prabhu come with him? With her. Sita Thakurani went to bless the child and offer gifts.
Is it because Mother Sachi offended Advaitacharya?
I don't know. It's not competitive on, I can't say.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. It may be. I mean, we could, these things, there may be some commentary somewhere, but usually, for the first, right after the birth, for about a month, there's a time where the mother doesn't go out, and just so it may be because of that, but it's not said there, so I don't know that. But it's interesting that Advaita Prabhu didn't go at that time to when Lord Jesus appeared, the three kings showed up. At least that's what they say, right? It wasn't their wives, even though the kings probably had wives. So somehow there was a difference here. Advaita Prabhu. So how do we worship and recognize Advaita Prabhu? In the Krishna consciousness movement. Anybody?
I don't know. Okay,
She's part of Panchatattva.
Yes. He's part of the Panchatattva.
There's
And
a mantra for that. Yeah.
go ahead. What's that?
There's a mantra for that, right? Panchatattva.
Yeah. We always chant the Panchatattva. It's also called Mahamantra. Panchatattva Mahamantra before chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And I'll just read the purport that Srila Prabhupada discusses this. how, I mean, it's not only Advaita Prabhu, but all the Pancha, the five Lord Chaitanya and 5 features. He said, this is in Adi Lila 7th chapter, text number 4. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by his plenary expansion. Who's that? Sri Nityananda Prabhu. His incarnation, Sri Advaita Prabhu. His internal potency, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu. And his marginal potency, Srivas Prabhu. He is in the midst of them as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always accompanied by these other tattvas. Therefore, our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are complete when we say Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. As preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, we first offer our obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting this Panchatattva mantra. Then we say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There are 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but these are not considered in the chanting of the Panchatattva mantra. Namely, remember this one? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Mahavadanyaya Avatar, the most magnanimous incarnation, for he does not consider the offenses of the fallen souls. Thus, to derive the full benefit of chanting the Mahamantra, we must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, learn the Panchatattva Mahamantra, and then chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That will be very effective. Taking advantage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many unscrupulous devotees manufacture a Mahamantra of their own. Sometimes they sing Bhaja Nitai Go Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram, or Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Shri Radhe Govinda. Actually, however, one should chant the names of the full Panchatattva, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda, and then the 16 words Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But these unscrupulous, less intelligent men confuse the entire process. Of course, since they are also devotees, they can express their feelings in that way. But the method prescribed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pure devotees is first to chant the full Panchatattva mantra and then chant the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Anyway, I thought that's a very instructive instance. And actually, Srila Prabhupada makes that point numerous times, particularly in the Adi Lila, that offering respect to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu includes is done how? By chanting the Panchatattva Mahamantra in full, including Advaita Prabhu, Gadadhar Prabhu, and Srivas Thakur. So then, someone may say, well, in the ISKCON kirtans, that's very popular to chant Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, isn't it? What do you think about that? What do you think?
The meaning itself is Nitai Gaur Haribo, that is calling the name of the Lord Nityananda,
Yes.
Lord Chaitanya.
Yes.
I guess the only issue is that then Shivas and Gadadhar and Advaita are not included in that.
Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas are not. Yeah. Yeah. They're not included. There's a verse that we say sometimes. Have you heard this verse? Sampradaya vihinaye mantaste nishpala mata. Have you heard that verse before?
No.
sampradaya, the vihinaya. If you don't get the mantra from the sampradaya, nishpala means you don't get the fruit of the chant. Sampradaya vihinaya, mantra stay nishpala mata. You don't get the result if you don't get the mantra in disciplic succession with sampradaya. So then devotees have raised the question, Jayadvaita Swami particularly, has raised the question, well, did we get the Nitai Gaur Haribol chant from Srila Prabhupada, who's our predecessor Acharya? That's something to consider. Did we? Did we?
I still don't know, actually.
I don't know either. I just, yeah.
I don't know any instance when Srila Prabhupada presented that as our to chant. When you can check all of his recorded chants that he did, just like in the beginning. Thank you very much for having Srila Prabhupada chant in the beginning, by the way. And but I don't know of any instance where he chanted that spontaneously. There are recordings of when other devotees are chanting, he may chant sometimes. For example, devotee, elevated devotee named Vishnugada Maharaj, he used to chant Nitai Gaur Haribol all the time, and others. You'd have full kirtans with Nitai Gaur Haribol Haribol. But did Srila Prabhupada do that? I don't know of any instance where he did that. And many times he's saying like this in that purport that I just read, that to properly give respect to Lord Chaitanya, the way to do that is to chant the whole Panchatattva Mahamantra. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi, Gaur Bhaktivinoda Vijay. So anyway, one should consider that in the kirtan when we're chanting, because like I said, without following the mantras or given by the Sampradaya, our predecessor Acharya, we don't get a result. There's a, go ahead, Parikit Prabhu.
I guess I do have a question now.
Okay.
And I definitely have heard Vishnugada Swami recording of him chanting Bolo Nityananda Haribo Haribo.
Different ones, yeah, I know.
And is that okay?
Well, like I said, I remember I was present in New York when devotees first started chanting those kinds of additional mantras. It was from Mangal Arti, and a devotee named Bali Mardan. He had just returned from India, and he started chanting during Mangal Arti. He started Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga. I never heard it before, because we never chant. I mean, this was probably 1973. So up till 1973, we didn't chant other things, but at a certain point it was introduced. And so, as Srila Prabhupada says here, as he said, that devotees can certainly do whatever they want, they can express their, but following what Srila Prabhupada did, he never chanted that. He never chanted Gaur Nityananda. Most of those other chants were introduced from the Gaudiya Math, in fact.
Prabhu, so when devotees like Vishnugada Swami chanted, or Bali Madan Prabhu chanted, did Prabhupada stop that? Did Srila Prabhupada say anything?
I don't know of any instance where Srila Prabhupada stopped it.
Hmm.
All I know is there's several places in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where Prabhupada says, just like I read today, there's several, not just one place, but there's 3 or 4 places where he says to properly chant, to properly offer respects to Lord Chaitanya, you chant this Panchatattva Mahamantra. That's what he says. Okay, so, if he puts it in the book, it's probably, to my sense, it's more strongly given than if he just says it to somebody. You follow? Somebody, he could say it to somebody and somebody say, well, that's not really what he said. But if it's in the book, we take it very seriously, because this is supposed to be the guidebook for everybody. So anyway, have I ever chanted Haribol? Of course I have, so many times. But, like I said, now I'm in old age and I want to be really careful about what's going on. And people are mad at me for saying that. I know many people. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, but I'm saying consider the main chant, our main way of offering obeisances, respects to Lord Chaitanya is to chant the full Panchatattva Mahamantra. And, Nitai Gaur Nityananda Bo, other things like that are not so important in doing so. That shouldn't be, a focus of our kirtan. I'm saying that, but following what Srila Prabhupada has said here. There's a quote in What is the Difficulty? Have you ever read What is the Difficulty? What's
Prabhu,
that?
I haven't read it, but I've seen that book a million times, but I have not read it.
Yeah, that's Shruti Kirti Prabhu's
That's who wrote it. Yeah.
remembrances of Srila Prabhupada, his being his personal servant for some time. Anyway, there's one time there where he asked Srila Prabhupada about that, just that point you asked. And you know what Prabhupada's response was? Maybe you've heard it before. You remember, you ever heard it?
What is the difficulty?
It's in the What is the Difficulty? He
No,
said,
Prabhu,
oh, they can go keep on chanting Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, but we'll chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead. That's what he said. According to Shruti Kirti. I wasn't there, Shruti Kirti. But anyway, so I mean, there are other mantras that are not as important, but the more important mantra is the Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. So including, as we're focusing today, Advaita Prabhu. Advaita Prabhu is calling for Lord Krishna to inaugurate the congregational chanting of the holy name. I had one other thing I wanted to read. I know it's almost time for the end of this class, but there's this idea of oneness and difference. Advaita is one with Lord Chaitanya, but also different. So the material conceptions of dualism and monism are a little difficult. So there was an interesting story in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita about when Mother Jadurani first came to the temple. That is, I thought it reminded me of this point that Mayavadis, they can't call Krishna because they think they are Krishna, right? They're not. They think they are Krishna. So how can you call him? So here's at the storefront. This is after her Mother Jadurani's non-initiated name was Judy. One of the devotees offered Judy some prasadam, a chapati, and invited her up to the Swami's room upstairs. She entered the large front room, which was filled with fragrant smoke. There were tall flower vases and sesame seeds were on the floor. She saw the Swami bow before a little picture of Lord Chaitanya and his associates, and then stand and leave the room, closing the door behind him. Judy decided that he must have been bowing to the floor itself. Around her, everyone was chanting softly on beads, and although she couldn't make out the words, it seemed peaceful. One of the Swami's disciples told her she could come into the back room, and she followed, curious. The Swami was sitting there on his mat, looking effulgent. There were about 10 other people in the room. Prabhupada asked her if she liked the chanting in the park. They had just come back from chanting in Tompkins Square Park, where she saw the devotees for the first time. Prabhupada asked her if she liked the chanting in the park, and she replied, "I loved it." "Do you live near here?" he asked. Judy flashed on her idea that she was the all-pervading truth and answered in a way which she thought must have sounded very mystical. "Oh, I live very near." "Good," said Swamiji. "Then you can come for our morning kirtan and class." Then she realized that she didn't live so near, and that it would mean traveling an hour and a half from the Bronx to visit the Swami. Do you get that? Did you get that? So she was saying everything is one. Yeah, so I'm here because I'm everywhere, right? Yeah, but actually, no, when it really came down to it, no, she had to travel an hour and a half. Yeah, so there's simultaneous oneness and difference. Okay, that same point mentioned here in this verse. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for this wonderful class. We learn so much whenever we hear our classes. Thank you so much. Would like to ask devotees for any questions, any comments or clarification, any doubts, whatever. Please do unmute yourself, or you can put the question in the chat, and I'll be happy to read it. Prabhu, I have a question, Prabhu. If you could explain it, and I've heard this, and I've quite not understood it completely. That Advaitacharya Prabhu, as we know, as Mahavishnu, but then I hear this other part of Sadashiva. So if Advaitacharya is the Supreme Lord himself, then where does Sadashiva play in the role? I'm trying to understand that.
Sadashiva is the personified glance of Mahavishnu. He's beyond the material world. So, and the glance of Mahavishnu is none different than Mahavishnu. You follow? Yeah. So there's a book called the Advaita Prakash. And in that book, the author, whoever it is, it's supposed to be the servant of Advaita Prabhu, Ishan. He really wants to play up Advaita Prabhu as being an incarnation of Lord Shiva. But actually the book is not bona fide. It's got many, many mistakes in it. And it's not, so it's obviously wasn't written by Advaita Prabhu's servant. It was likely written by someone in the Advaita Parivar who wanted to separate themselves from Lord Chaitanya. So they were emphasizing Lord Shiva. But also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Advaita Prabhu is identified with Mahavishnu and sometimes Sadashiva, but that's my understanding because Sadashiva is the personified glance. When Vishnu glances on the pradhan, the material energy, that glance impregnates the material energy with living entities. That's how it is. So, in that sense, and he can be both things because they're together, right? Advaita Mahavishnu and the glance also. They're part of the same. That's my understanding.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for explaining and clarifying that in my mind. Thank you so much. Any other questions from devotees? Anything that you would like to ask? Such an amazing, very, very nice class. I definitely have learned that, I did not know that Jadurani Mataji's name was Yadurani. It was a J and the Y. I learned something new today. I mean, I've heard that name, but I never connected it with Yadus. Never did.
Yeah, the J's. I mean, Srila Prabhupada often, because Sanskrit can be pronounced with a Bengali accent, just like we pronounce often Sanskrit with an American accent. And so, for example, even when I was listening to Prabhupada chanting Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nitya. And when he was chanting, he always chants Nityananda. The first day is long. And the devotees were responding. That was back in 1967 or something like that. Nityananda, because that's our American accent. Nityananda. Second day is long. But actually, the first day is long. Nityananda. That's American accent. We used to have a devotee who was living and when I first joined, I think I told you these things. There's a Purusottama. How do you say that? Purus with a dot under Ottama.
And Purushottam Prabhu?
Yes, Purushottam. So, but if you say it with an American or English accent, Purushottam.
Oh,
I never heard that
Bhakti
before.
Tam and Purushottam. Bhakti Tam and Purushottam. Yeah, that's what we say. But that's American accent.
Mm.
And so, Krishna Lord Krishna, Bhavagrahi Janardana, he knows what you're doing. He understands. But over, if you've been in the movement for 20 years or 15 years or 5 years or 2 years, why not be careful enough to say the person's name right? If I meet somebody and I say their name wrong every time, we had our summer camp, and there was one little girl, and her name was Pari. So I
Pari.
called her Pari.
Yeah.
No, it's Pari. She would correct every single time I said it wrong. She'd correct me. It's Pari. It's Pari, not Pari. It's Pari. So even she's correcting every time. What about other things, right? It's about time. Pari. Pari. All right.
Smart girl, smart girl.
Yes, she was a character. She always wanted to blow the conch shell. Okay.
Pari. Okay, it's not Pari. Okay. Oh, that was nice. Yes, and it's true, Prabhu. I know my name has been butchered,
Yes.
quite
Oh, too many times.
too many
By my
times.
own God family at that too.
I know. And they heard it, but they butcher my name so bad. It's like I don't want to hear it from them anymore.
Yeah, so people make up nicknames so they don't have to, so they can be said right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Prabhu, it's really bad. But yes, thank you. Any questions from
Usually they say
devotees?
my name, people say it Vishnugada. Vishnugada. Often people say they had an H in there. They had an H.
But there's no H, right, Prabhu?
There's no H, no
Yes,
H.
what
But
I
people
thought.
sometimes add an H. Sometimes in South India they want to add an H everywhere. Mataji. Anyway, so they add an H. So actually, the Vishnugada means the ass of Vishnu. The
Hey
donkey of
Krishna
Vishnu.
Karuna Sindhu.
Yeah. So it's okay. We could to be Lord Vishnu's ass is not a ordinary thing. Das, and at least das. Anyway, those things go on, but it's okay.
Oh my Krishna Chaitanya. Oh Lord, no. This is wow. Speechless.
Correct pronunciation is important.
It's important, yeah, how we pronounce.
We were having I think a few days ago in Philadelphia they were playing a Prabhupada lecture, and in the beginning there's the chanting of the Srimad Bhagavatam verse, and I was surprised because Prabhupada corrected several devotees chanting the pronunciation. Somebody put an A instead of an I, and he corrected them not just once, but more than once during the class. I didn't remember so many of this, but in that class he did. It was in New York, actually. I was there when he was doing that. It was very interesting.
Actually, Prabhu, I heard one lecture too because we play Prabhupada's lecture every Wednesday, and there was one that I heard a couple of months back. He was, I forgot. I think it was Pradyumna Prabhu that recites the verse.
No, it was
and-
Nitai.
Okay, Nitai. Okay, and Prabhupada said, it's supposed to be this, not that, and then this devotee was saying with the print, says, change the print. The print is wrong. Go back and change. Like he said something like that.
Yes.
Go back and change. The printing is wrong. That's what he said, something
right.
like that. Yeah. I remember him saying that too. He was very particular.
In 1975 in Philadelphia, Nitai was reading, and he was the pastime of a Jamil, and Nitai said he said a Jamil said, Narayan, 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 and Srila Prabhupada said, what? 3 times Narayan? And so Nitai said, oh no, yes, it's written 3 times Narayan. He said, Prabhupada said, it's not 3 times Narayan, it was 1 time Narayan. And so then Nitai said, well, then Nitai had to admit that he changed it. He had changed it. He had to admit it right there. And so Prabhupada told him to change it back. But initially Nitai was resistant to, he wanted to have 3. So if somebody could say, well, what's the difference? 1 Narayan or 3 Narayans? Who cares? It's Narayan. 3 is better than 1, right? Well, but that's not how Prabhupada wanted to keep it as, that is the passing the mango down from the top of the tree. Don't change it. Don't smash it. Don't adjust it. Yeah.
I remember that part too, Prabhu, about that lecture where Papa corrected. It's only one time. It was someone said it was very. I think it was Chandramali Swami that said that in one of his classes. It was only once, not 3 times.
Yeah.
And yes. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Any other points from devotees? We're learning a lot today, a lot that we have to really be careful and not khichdi it. Not khichdi it. If there isn't any questions, any comments, Prabhu, as always, thank you so much for your classes. We always learn it. It's like time to learn and make it straight. And whenever you give and share with us these kind of points, Prabhu, I'm always reminded of Bhakti Swami, where he all the time, Prabhu, because he made this point in one of our GBC college classes that I took in 2019, and he said that if we manufacture and deter and away from what Prabhupada's teachings, then by the 4th generation he'll be gone.
Yeah, what's going on?
Very strong about that. He was very strong about that. So every time I hear such points, I always think of Bhakti Swami's lecture on that. So I want to thank you so much for helping us to remember that. And I hope that we all be careful and not throw our own khichdi in it and really follow Prabhupada. And again, Prabhu, thank you so much.
And I have to announce this. Of course, you know this, that Philadelphia Rath Yatra is September 23rd.
Yes, Prabhu.
And I know that it's the day after Radha Ashtami, so devotees might be a little bit.
Oh, Prabhu, no, they're coming out. Our
Okay.
devotees are coming out no matter what.
And you're also, and you come, and the Parikshit Prabhu invitation, personal invitation, and all devotees. I haven't seen dear Krishna on here.
Prabhu, he's coming
He's in
back
India.
tomorrow from
He's in India. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
his mother passed away about
I didn't
4
know. I
weeks
didn't
ago.
know.
Yes,
Okay.
so he's tying things up, but he's coming back tomorrow, and he will be at the Rath Yatra, him and his family.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you all.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Have
Krishna.
a wonderful day. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Krishna.
Hari Hari Bol.